The question has been asked so many times this year after all those close calls on runways and off Hawaii. Is flying safe? I'm David Curley. This is Full Throttle. The FAA has held a safety summit. Investigations continue over all those close calls. There is no one thread that runs through all these incidents other than what appears to be human error. Our aviation system is a layered approach, and some of these close calls got to the last layer. So is the system safe, and what can we expect during the busy summer travel season? I talked with Ross Feinstein, a former communicator for TSA and American Airlines and a keen observer of the airline business. Ross, thanks for taking a little time to chat about this. I think a lot of people are worried whether or not our aviation system, our airlines are safe. Are they today with all these reports we've been hearing?
Absolutely. I mean, the aviation space here, and when it comes to U.S. aviation and aviation worldwide, is very safe. As I ever tell everybody, aviation flying is safer than walking. And I do mean that. It's safer. I live in New York City. It's safer than biking. We hear more biking incidents every day. So it is completely safe. I know there have been these incidents that are obviously making the news. People are hearing about these close calls, but flying is still the safest mode of transportation out there. I have no problem getting on a flight any day, going anywhere, because I feel completely safe. I'm more concerned about leaving my apartment and getting hit by a car in New York City than I do getting on an aircraft and flying halfway across the world.
I think that's what a lot of people are wondering. Is there a pattern? Because we had so many of them. They were all had one thing in common. It was human error, it appears, in every incident while the investigations are continuing, but very different, where a controller might have been responsible, a pilot may have been responsible. There's no common thread there, is there?
No, I mean, but as you mentioned, it's the human aspect to this, right? You can have all these different technologies out there that do early warning alert systems and runway incursion systems with the radar on the runways themselves to alert a controller if two aircraft are potentially going to cross or intersect there. But what it comes down to is this is the human issue here. Pilots, air traffic controllers need to be paying a lot more attention. And there's been an increase, right? We've had the demand is, we had the pandemic, everything slowed down so quickly. And then all of a sudden the demand came back so fast. You had trainings, you had to train pilots back up again. You had a lot of people that took early outs or packages to retire early, and airlines were encouraging that. They were encouraging those senior pilots that were approaching age 65 to take a package and retire from the airline, which ultimately saved money and costs for them. They were ultimately getting money from the federal government under the payroll support program. So when I was at American Airlines, we were encouraging pilots to take those early retirements, those early outs. So you've had a lot of obviously junior people I don't want to say junior, but obviously they had time on a narrow body that are now on an international wide body, or you had pilots that were on a small regional aircraft that have quickly been promoted to either a first officer or even a captain on a narrow body mainline aircraft. So I think all of this together is a little concerning. You have a lot more junior people out there that don't have the experience and the decades worth of experience.
The acting administrator of the FAA has hinted one thing. You're talking about a personnel issue where a lot of new people came in because of the pandemic and risen very quickly in the system. And he talked a little bit about people being a little bit rusty. I mean, this all points back to the pandemic, what the airlines did in reducing staff because nobody was flying. And then also that folks weren't flying as much during those days.
Well, it does bring up the fact of the payroll support program. One could argue the point was to keep everyone on payroll and going through the training motions instead of taking the money and figuring out a way to get rid of staff and giving them early out opportunities to retire, right? The intention of the law was to keep everyone on payroll, active, ready to go. But of course, all the airlines said, hey, wait a second, we can take the money and simultaneously get these people to be off payroll and actually preserve more cash for ourselves. So that was just going back to 2020, March, April of 2020. And then this, of course, got extended 3 times. So what
you're saying is that the airlines went for the dough.
Absolutely. I mean, we were looking back then, we're looking at every opportunity to say, okay, we had this many people on payroll. How many people can we give benefits to? Retirement, fine, you'll get 10 years of travel if you retire now. This is just not just for pilots or flight attendants or for people at the airports. We were doing this for management also. But of course, demand ramped back up. Everyone's like, oh, we need more pilots, we need more flight attendants, we need more ground handling for above and below wing at airports. So you do have a lot more junior people across the board, and you've had to hire up really quickly.
Safety in aviation is a layered approach, that if one thing fails, something else catches it, and you have all these layers of safety. And I think these incidents are a little scary because it got to like the top layer. But in every instance and every incident that we've seen that we're talking about, the safety system actually worked, didn't it?
It did. I mean, there were close calls. I mean, it's too close for comfort. And I think that's why we're obviously speaking so much about this, why the FAA had their safety summit, why the NTSB chairwoman is testifying before Congress. I mean, it's too close. But yes, the pilots were paying attention. The air traffic controllers caught it. Someone caught it before it was too late. But again, we want to make sure by analyzing what happened, why it happened, and figure out how do we prevent it from happening in the future. I don't think there's a clear, like just check this one box and these issues go away. It's trying to figure out what is actually going on. And I did watch part of the FAA Safety Summit. I've obviously read all the reports out of it. And I don't think there was just like one magic bullet that's just going to ultimately solve all these issues. But I think it's, obviously it's staffing issue too. I mean, the FAA is understaffed. I think every airline has been saying they're understaffed. How do we ensure there are more air traffic controllers, whether they're the airports, the TRACON facilities, across the board?
You kind of led us to my next line of questioning, which is here comes summer. I mean, summer travel season is very close. The airlines have been pretty open and straightforward that since the pandemic kind of waned, that they've been trying to capture all that revenue that's out there because we all want to travel. Are they prepared? Because we've been talking about these staffing issues potentially leading to these safety issues, but what about just running the schedules that they want to run this summer?
Well, every airline will tell you they're fully prepared, fully staffed, ready to go. I mean, there's not going to be an airline that's going to say we're not ready to go because that would look terrible from a PR perspective. So every airline's going to say they're good to go. They have the resources in place, and I'm sure they do. But the challenge is a lot of airlines prepare for the sunny day, the sunny travel day. And the US infrastructure is great. I mean, when it's sunny, it's beautiful right today in New York City. When it's a beautiful travel day across the country, things go really well. It's the challenges when multiple airlines hubs have weather, whether it's in Dallas-Fort Worth area, which would impact American and Southwest, whether it's Chicago, which impacts United American, or the Northeast, which just impacts everybody across the board. And it has a ripple effect. So I think the airlines are staffed in terms of personnel. I think they do have the resources in place, but I think it comes down to the weather. We've seen much more impactful weather in the summer months than we've ever seen before. I mean, over the last few weeks, we're seeing these tornado systems, and it seems like Tornado Alley is actually moving and shifting. So these really, over the past few days, we've seen Delta Airlines and their hub in Atlanta getting impacted from very, very severe weather. So the weather issue, I think, is going to be what's going to compound all these problems this summer. And flights are going to be completely full. Everything is going to be at 100% load factor. You're not going to see empty seats. People want to travel. And the issue is you have one hub or one airline hub in the United States that is impacted by weather, could cancel hundreds, 200, 300 flights. And in the scheme of things, that's not that many flights that are canceled. But when you have 100% load factor for days, weeks, there's no slack in the system to rebook those customers, not on that airline or other airlines at their agreements. So I think what we're going to see here, you're going to see these issues that are going to pop up with this weather systems this summer, and you're going to try to figure out, okay, some airlines canceled hundreds of flights. Is that because the system? Is that because of the airlines? And I think it's really going to be just, you're going to have to cancel flights during weather related issues. And you're just going to see a lot of people complaining that they have no way to get to their final destination. And again, it's just the summer months here, but I think people are prepared. I do. And they're all, of course, we're going to say it, but I just think the system right now is so there's no slack. There's no slack at all.
You mentioned
they're flying every plane they possibly can fly right now because they like to fly more. But first off, you can't get planes from the manufacturers, right? Airbus and Boeing are having issues. You have staffing issues with the regional pilots. There've obviously been a consolidation of the regional airlines. Many have gone out of business. So you don't even have enough regional pilots. So you have less regional aircraft flying. You're trying to fly as many mainline aircraft as you can for the big airlines. So it's going to be it'll be interesting summer to watch. I mean, every summer is very interesting in terms, everyone always asks me is what's the busiest travel time? Is it always Thanksgiving and Christmas? And I'm like, Thanksgiving is literally every day throughout the entire summer months. I mean, when you start looking at the analyzing over the years, every day in the summer is actually busier usually than Thanksgiving. As a traveler today, you really need to be a savvy traveler. You need to look at backup plans. What other airlines have seats on them? And yes, airlines, a lot of the major airlines have become more flexible with some of their fares, not all, that give you the ability to, have the no change fees, but it doesn't mean you get a refund back to original form of payment. That means that you can cancel and they'll keep the money and then you can utilize it later on. But you really have to be a savvy traveler to look at their opportunities.
Just kind of sum it all up. Safety, summer, flying. What's your advice to folks?
First off, continue to fly. Flying is safe. It's very safe. It's safer than driving, safer than walking. And I sometimes say it's safer than staying in your own home because of carbon monoxide related issues that you could possibly happen in your home. So flying is completely safe. I wouldn't be nervous at all about these reports, these increased incidents that we've heard about. Again, feel free to fly, buy a ticket, go places, travel, be with your family, see your loved ones. Definitely do that. The summer, I always say, but I know I have to say it, it sounds cliche, but pack your patience. Get to the airport early. Try to take early flights in the morning time if you can, if possible. Don't wait for the evening time flights where these pop-up storms happen. So if you haven't booked your flights, try to go in the morning time. The majority of those flights are going to be on time. Yes, there's
basically the aircraft's there. It's spent overnight there, so you've got a better chance of making it.
Absolutely. Every airline, if you have an operational issue from the day before, you need to start your schedule new the next day. So you're going to take your cancellations in the evening time to ensure you start your schedule the next morning, new, fresh. So I would do that. And also I would just be a savvy traveler, continue to look at options that you have available in terms of getting to your final destination. And I have a lot of faith in the system. I have a lot of faith in the airlines, the FAA and the NTSB, ensuring the safe operation of flights.
Be flexible and enjoy yourself as you travel in the summer.
And also, I just have to plug, be nice to the gate. I saw recently a flight, I was going to Munich. My flight got canceled out of Newark. United had an operational issue and people were just taking it out on the gate agent. The gate agent didn't cancel your flights. She or he does not need to be yelled at over this. So just be nice, roll with the punches. They're trying to do everything they possibly can. And if you can just thank them, it's not their fault that an issue happened, a maintenance issue happened. No one's purposely trying to cancel flights. No one's canceling because a flight has too few passengers booked on it. If they have to cancel a flight, they're looking at their overall operation and trying to figure out, if we have to cancel a flight, what would impact the least number of passengers? And guess what? The majority of people on my flight were able to be booked through Frankfurt that same evening. No issues. I went to Frankfurt, not a problem at all. So just again, be nice to the people at the airports. They are working really hard, dealing with a lot of stressed out passengers, and just being nice goes a long way.
Yeah, as I like to say, the airlines can't control the weather. And once they do, we can blame them for canceling our flights. Ross, thanks very much. Some good insight into what's going on in aviation and our airline industry in the U.S. Really appreciate it. And enjoy your summer travel.
Thanks, David. Same to you.
Airlines say they are now carrying more passengers than before the pandemic. And they say they are ready for the summer season. I'm David Curley. That's Full Throttle.